Hello, trading has closed on August 31st, 2022. Start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, make some predictions, see how today's weakness affects the long-term picture, and in my opinion, it's quite a lot. Well, this is my trading plan for tomorrow, the 1st of September, 2022. Please remember I can be completely wrong, and any trade you make should be at your own risk. Also remember I have different indicators for long-term moves, and they aren't as accurate as my intraday stuff. I don't usually hold positions very long overnight, and if my long-term picture changes, I don't really care. We had a few predictions. We had a target 4006.40. We said unless we gap down smartly, it should print. It printed, and there was resistance over the target. We always like crossing old unfilled targets off the list. Ultimately, we saw 3961.82 from the 27th of July, and the only lower target we still have from this year is 3745.79. And before that, you have to go all the way back to 3,200 in the year 2020. We have all kinds of higher targets from this year which haven't printed. Think they will print eventually. Doesn't mean they have to print anytime soon. We said the pattern was the one with the early high. It tends to have an early high and a late high. It's typically a negative pattern, but lately a lot of times this late high was higher than the early high, so it could be positive. Instead, we got the normal pattern. We said if yesterday's action was an ending diagonal triangle, it was pretty positive. But once we undercut those lows, that interpretation was killed. Here's what we said. There's not much good to say about this pattern. We had a number of things that were compatible with yesterday's action being a low. In my experience, when you have a good chance for a low and it fails, it usually fails in grand style. Now, futures are down about 20 as I'm recording this, but we don't know how we'll open. We do have a wall into the close, so in spite of futures, it's entirely possible we gap up because of the wall, but I'm not counting on it at this time. During the day, this rally was marked by the system as false, so we retrace. These drops were called false. We've already retraced. We did have a sell signal in the afternoon. The minimum target printed immediately, but you're not required to stop at the minimum. It just means you don't have to go any lower according to the rules of the system. Doesn't mean you go higher. Well, this is the count I've been using, but it's on verge of being completely invalidated. We had an ABC down. We had sentiment readings at this low compatible with a major market low. Now, at the time, I said I didn't think it was enough of a drop, not what I was expecting. I had much lower targets. But after a move like this, I changed my mind. And I said that was probably it. We started to make an impulse up. All we had to do was keep going. And based on sentiment indicators, thought that would hold. Problem I have is I can't count this decline, which I'm calling a wave magenta 4. I don't have a count which says that that's over. And if we drop 10 more points, we'll overlap the high of wave 1, meaning it's not an impulse. Now you can have an ABC followed by another ABC, and you can still rally after that. But if this is as significant a low as I was thinking, I'd be happier if we had an impulse, and that's on the verge of being killed. So let's see if it's killed. That's an if. Let's see what happens to the long-term picture. Well, this is my long-term count. We had an ABC ending in 2009, an ABC up. I know everyone else calls it a 5. I can't count it that way. And then we have an ABC down. Now we came up with a number of targets we thought were possible. We finally settled on green C being 1.272 times green A was close enough. But let's go back to the original targets. If this isn't the count, what other targets can we have? Favorite one I had was a 38.2% retrace from the high, which is what Tom DeMark uses. You take 48.18, subtract 38.2%, you get 32.32. Let's see what happens to the waves at that price. Suppose that's still A, and suppose that's still B, and suppose instead of this being C, this is A of C, B of C, C of C, and suppose it ends at 32.32. Well, at that price, measured from the high of C, blue C, this is 61.8. Is that right? If that's blue C, worked before? Oh, I was counting from here. That's what I did. If we count from the start of C to the end of C, you can see that C would be 161.8 times A. And as far as this wave is concerned, C of C would be exactly twice A of C. So if 32.32 is hit, we do have balance of the waves at that price. It doesn't mean has to print. Doesn't mean other numbers don't work. It doesn't really have a good fib relationship with wave A, but has a great fib relationship with the middle swing, and sometimes that's all you get. None of this has to happen, but if we keep dropping, if this falls, it's one target I'll be looking for. Now, a number of people have thanked me online for my videos. I don't always acknowledge them, but I will now. Thank you for the thank yous. I also have to say next week I have personal business. I might not post every day and might not post at all. I'll try, but I can't guarantee I'll do it, and I certainly won't have as much time as I normally have. I don't normally talk about individual stocks that much, but I thought I'd seen everything earlier this month when HKD went from $12.05 to $25.55.30 in a little over a month. New stock came out today, ATXG. It came public at $5, traded as low as $12.95, closed at $656.54, and after hours at $1147.77. It's complete madness, and madness like that is typically seen at market tops, not at market lows. Okay, tomorrow's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. Number of patterns we discussed yesterday were compatible with a low if Tuesday featured an ending diagonal triangle. Today's break to new lows invalidated that interpretation. The June low featured sentiment readings which in the past have occurred only at major lows. Although the rally from that low started at a price higher than the one I was expecting, I eventually accepted the idea that the low was in. Recent action calls that opinion into question. Can't count the current decline as being over, and if we completed an ABC in June, ideally, I'd expect to see a 5-way move higher, and we're on the verge of making that impossible. I don't have a call specifically for tomorrow, but any more weakness here would put significantly lower prices in play. Even if those print, I think will recover next year. It doesn't have to be next year, but I still think we're in this wave C, and I still have the higher MEJT targets. Doesn't mean you won't trade much lower first. So this is really weak stuff. Had a good chance to make a low. It failed. More often than not, it'll fail in grand style. Tomorrow could kill this whole idea. We could gap up here, kill the whole idea. But for right now, I think that's pretty weak, and regardless of what happens tomorrow, I can't count this drop as being over. And that's today's call.